Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Castello Show. It is week 9, and I'm very excited to announce our theme this week. The NHL playoffs start, ladies and gentlemen. Get pumped. Islanders and Rangers both in. Thoughts on the playoffs? What can we expect?
Well, it starts this Saturday. The East is locked. The whole bracket on that side. There's still some West games tonight that matter, so I don't really care that much about the West, though. First round for the East, awesome matchups. Isles, Canes, Rangers, Capitals, Bruins, Leafs, and Panthers, Lightning. Battle of Florida.
Oh, so they're going to be in Raleigh then.
Yes. So last year I actually went to one of the away games because we live in Charlotte. So I went to one of the Isles, Canes games in Raleigh with my daughter. That was awesome. Don't know we'll be able to do it again just because of when the nights that the games fall on.
Right.
But we'll definitely try. So this is the second season in a row, Isles Hurricanes in the first round. Last season, the Isles really should have got by. The game we went to was the one that went to overtime. Shouldn't have gone to overtime. The Isles blew it, and they shouldn't have lost in overtime, too. I'm pretty optimistic, actually. They've been hot lately. Isles finished the season winning 8 of 9. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty optimistic. They're getting hot at the right time. The Rangers are the 1 seed in the East, unfortunately. 1940 is gone, thanks to 94. But, we can wish and hope. Capitals could be a tough first round matchup. They ran off 6 losses in a row towards the end of the season. It looks like they were going to be out, and it was going to be the Flyers or the Red Wings. But then they won 4 of the last 5, and they knocked the Red Wings out. So, but the Isles and Rangers, if they can get past those first round matchups, they'll play each other in the second round. So that will be awesome, unless the Isles lose. So, but the NHL playoffs are always awesome. And majority of the teams that are in this season can make a run, so this one should be really good.
No, it's honestly the only time I really watch hockey.
A lot of people,
because the regular season, it's 82 games. It's like the NBA. I don't watch every Knicks game. Yeah. I'll watch when it's on, and I'm not doing anything.
Well, it's funny because there's a difference between the regular season and the playoffs. The NBA, nobody plays defense.
Yeah.
And the NHL, it's just too many games to ratchet it up like they do in the playoffs every night. You'll be injured. You couldn't get through a season. But now it matters, and I mean the intensity ratchets up, and it's fantastic. So
for sure. Well, let's get into last week's news. A lot of good games last week. We're going to start with Charlotte FC with a 3-2 win over Toronto at home. Now, a little too close for comfort, this 3-2 win. Goals called back. I mean, a lot going on. But both goals against Charlotte, defensive breakdown. Like, no one marking the guy, just wanders through the back line. Taloma kept him on the side.
Yep, that was terrible.
And also, Taloma, I don't think should have been on the field. Melanda missing.
He was hurt. He was questionable.
Yeah.
Which I guess he was hurt.
Taloma's not the guy. I mean, I don't know who is the guy, because,
right.
Carujo's not even on the team anymore, right? He's gone.
I don't think so.
So, I don't know who goes in instead, but I didn't think Taloma was the right move. And it kind of showed. I mean, they got lucky that the third goal to win was in the 83rd or something. It was late.
Yeah, I think it was later than that.
It might have been like the 88th. It was towards the end, because I was already ready to storm out of the stadium angry. And then they scored, and I lost it. I'm pretty sure I spilled a Vizzy on the lady next to me, who did not want to be at that game anyway.
And when you look at Taloma, do you know how many minutes he's logged before starting that game?
0.
He has logged 0 minutes all season and started and completed that whole game. I don't know how that's an option for you as a coach. Yeah. He hasn't played 1 minute all game. He's in the starting lineup. He's playing all 90.
Yeah, we did learn a few things, though. One, Charlotte can score. I mean, 3-2. 3 goals is a big offensive game for Charlotte.
It was Toronto.
Never do that. Yes, but Charlotte also couldn't put up any against the Revolution. So, it's at least a step in the right direction. We also learned that Toronto does not necessarily need Insigne to score a goal. Now, Charlotte, not a reliable defense, and this isn't even their defense. It's Toloma, and so
Right.
I don't know how much you want to take that seriously, but Toronto with 2 goals is not. And I believe they had. Did they have one called back, or was it just Charlotte that had one called back?
No, Charlotte did. I don't think Toronto did at all. And the one called back for Charlotte was because of Tuiloma.
Yeah.
So Abada should have had 2 goals.
Yeah, with that Toloma one, there wasn't even a reason to foul the guy. It was
No, and you want to know what?
Abada's making a run. He's already past the defender. The defender's trying to recover, and Toloma just pushes him to make sure that he can't.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it was more of a pick. I actually watched, in the stadium, you don't really get replay and stuff, and so it's tough to see what happens. But when I got home the next day, watched the replay and stuff, it was kind of a pick, is really what it was, which, you're supposed to call, but they never get called. And Lloyd Sam was talking about that. I actually like him a lot as a commentator.
Love Lloyd Sam.
And he was talking about that play happens all the time on corners and never gets called. So kind of a weak call for Abada to get his first goal taken away, but thankfully he got one back. So
true. Next up on the docket, we got Red Bull Chicago. A 0-0 match, which to me was shocking. I thought this was going to be fireworks, but the Red Bulls with a red card, and then kind of shutting down. Also hit the post a few times, too.
Yep.
Definitely could have been a Red Bull win despite the red card.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Then also on the docket, we got Minnesota United losing 2-1 to Houston. Houston's a team now, dude. They're in form. Minnesota's a real team to me. I mean, they haven't been great as of late, but I still think of them as if you beat Minnesota, you played well. It's not like beating the Earthquakes.
New England.
Yeah, or the Revolution. That's a real win if you beat Minnesota United.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got a lot going on, though, with the whole Reynosa stuff. And, Minnesota told him to go home to get that done. Mm-hmm. He did have the appointment. He did miss the appointment, all on his own. Mm-hmm. And he's back in his home country. He's not here. Some of the stuff I read was that they wanted him to take care of that so he wouldn't have to take up an international DP spot, and they could open that up to someone else.
Gotcha.
So, but he did just on his own miss his appointment, and
wow.
Yeah, now there's talks that they don't even want him to come back.
Yeah, no,
it could be insane.
Honestly, though, is it? I mean, if he can't even show up to a fucking...
No. I don't think...
It's insane on his part, not on the team's part.
Yeah, just the whole scenario is insane.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then the last one I wanted to talk about, the Rapids, just because every week I feel like we kind of, we root for the Rapids. We want the Rapids.
We are becoming Rapids fans.
I like the Rapids. 3-0 win over San Jose. Now, it is San Jose, hey, but 3-0 is big. Kept a clean sheet, and Cole Bassett with 9 fantasy points, so quite a week for him.
Yeah, and we always talk about him, and we never take him.
So he was on my bench, but he didn't get on the field, and it actually would have been better if he got on the field, but we'll get to that disappointing week later. We'll start with John. You want to go through your team last week?
Yeah. So my keepers, Kalina, like I said last week, was the obvious keeper by all metrics. It was all Charlotte defense. He played at 7:30, so he was on my bench. Charlotte defensively completely let me down, and I was expecting that to a degree. That's why I haven't had Charlotte players all season. I expect a letdown from Charlotte. I really do, and they did. Even though all the numbers pointed that way, they find a way to let you down. So then I put McMath from RSL in the lineup after Charlotte let up those 2 goals, and he did get the clean sheet. Mm. So he got 8 points, and that's pretty much a top keeper score you're going to get now. Yeah. Unless there's a penalty shot that he saves, 8 points is pretty much what you're looking at. It's really hard to get more than that. So I was super happy with that. Defenders, originally I had Malanda and Privet. Mm-hmm. Malanda not even suiting up. Yep. I put Lindsay on the bench and Privet on the field. I still wanted to have maximum sharp players, and I thought Lindsay might get an assist or some crosses, maybe even some key passes. He did not. He got 0 points.
Yeah.
Privet, thankfully that was on my bench, but Privet got 2 on my lineup, so that was hurting. I had Chris McVeigh from DC on the bench. I played a 3-5-2, so I only had 3 defenders, thankfully, because they were all terrible. Orlando had their first road goals of the season against DC.
Yeah.
So McVeigh only got the 2 points. And then I had Boxall in the lineup. He had 1 point. So we're not batting 1,000 here. And then, thankfully, I had Amika Enley in the lineup. And he and McMath had that clean sheet, which salvaged so much for me. I mean, those 14 points were big because the rest of my defense and keepers were awful. So he had 6 points. He had a yellow card. But that was my best defender by a lot. Originally, I had Tavon Gray on my bench. I felt like New York City could get a clean sheet against New England, which they did, but he didn't start.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't start, you're not going to get a clean sheet. You got to get at least 60 minutes.
Right.
So I pulled him, unfortunately. I should have replaced him with someone else from New York City.
Yeah.
But it's so difficult when you're in the stadium.
For sure.
I think that's when Boxall came in. I'm not even positive.
Yeah, no, making adjustments while you're watching a game live is really difficult.
Well, it's
when Charlotte is away, I do better fantasy-wise
100%.
because I have an Apple TV, like the actual hardware piece. So when I watch games, I can put it in multi-view, and I'll put 4 games on the TV at once, and I can just bounce around.
Yeah, it's easier, and I have my notes here. What I want to do, what I really need to do is have them on my phone when I'm in the stadium.
Yeah.
What's good this week? Charlotte plays Sunday, so shouldn't have any issues.
We'll have all of Saturday.
Yeah, I shouldn't have any issues at all. I'll make all of our changes on Saturdays from home.
Yeah.
My midfield was good. Forsberg was my only midfielder below 7 points, and he got 5.
Yeah,
which isn't bad. Lode and Santi each had 7. I expected more out of Santi. I thought about him as potential captain, actually.
Yeah, I never get mad at 7 points, though.
No, but he had a great matchup, and I expected him to go off. But 7 points is still good. 8 is what I'd like. 7 is what I'm okay with.
Right.
Gold had 8. He's been pretty consistent of late. He's getting goals and assists in his last 3 games. He's got a goal or an assist. And then Evander, like I said last week, Evander is just blowing up. He had 14 for me. He's averaging almost 10 points a week now.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. So my forwards, I had Jonathan Rodriguez from Portland on my bench. It's the 2nd week in a row that I had selected him. It's the 2nd week in a row. He's done nothing. So I'm done with him. I'm done with him until I see stuff. And there's so many forwards to choose from.
Yeah.
There's so many. And he hasn't done anything. And I really thought that was going to be this big signing. And he hasn't done anything. So with him on the bench, my other 2 did start. And so Arango was very disappointing. I expected a big week. He got 3. But my last player was my captain, Lionel Messi. Big. He had 13, which doubled to 26. He has to be in everyone's lineup if he's starting. You look at Miami's lineup. If he's starting, you have to play him, and you have to consider
every time.
You have to consider him as your captain.
Well,
but you have to at least play him.
I honestly think even because you could find someone that's gonna maybe outscore him. I mean, he's not always the highest scoring player, but he's the most dependably high scoring player. He never doesn't have 10
points. Right. And that's what you want in your captain. You need at least 10 points. If you get 8 points from all your players and 10 out of your captain, that's 100.
Yep.
So, as far as money, I had $128.5 million. I used 124.1 of that. So there was still 4.4 that I didn't use. I'm up another 2.3 million. This was a bad week, money-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players that went down.
8.
The last 2 or 3 weeks, I've had no players.
Yeah.
And this one I had 7. almost half. And then obviously 8 went up. So 2.3 million still isn't bad. I have over 130 million now. I have 130.8 million. Right. So I won my head-to-head, 87-71 over Landon. He dropped from like the 3rd or 4th spot all the way down to 6.
Yeah.
And I jumped up 2 spots. I'm in 2nd place now. This upcoming week I play Rick. I'm pretty confident about getting the W. He's had Barrial and Zimmerman in his lineup all season, so I feel pretty good about that W. You play Matt, who jumped into a tie for 4th with Mike.
Yeah.
So this is a big matchup for you because he'll jump you in the table if you lose.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about my week last week and all the things we're going to start changing around here. So at the back, I had Kalina in just straight up, along with Lindsay and Privet. None of that worked out. Lennon on the bench, or not Lennon on the bench, Lennon in the lineup, he had 2 points. And had Kyle Hybert on the bench with 7 points, but wasn't paying attention and never got him in.
16 points out of 2 guys on your bench.
Yes, no, and this is the thing with the bench players. If you're going to plan on like, oh, I like this guy, but I'm not sure, and you put him on your bench, and then you don't look at your fucking lineup during the matches,
yeah, that'd be bad.
It's a waste. Like, you got to actually pay attention. So in retrospect, what I really should have done here, Hybert in, Lindsay or Privet out, and just left it, knowing that I'm going to be at the Charlotte game and I'm not going to be paying attention, or pay attention and actually do it. But I didn't play him well.
The good news is you probably got $1 million from those 2 bench players.
I did, and I did make money there. Through the midfield, I mean, I'm not unhappy with it. Lewis, Maureen, and Forsberg with 5 each. Santi with 7, Ricky Puig with 7. So none of it's bad, none of it's great. I did have Cole Bassett on the bench. He had 9 points. But like I said, never actually got him on the field. Then we had Messi, Arango, and Rodriguez up top.
Same as me.
Yep. Here's the thing. Messi did very well, and I'm happy with that. Arango, even though it didn't work out, I still don't feel like I made a bad decision there.
No, he was the right play. A lot of people thought he was the guy this week. A ton of people captained him.
Yeah, so some guys missed something. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Rodriguez, though, I agree with you. Rodriguez will not be in my lineup for quite a while. It really did not work out for me there.
And I'm back to no Charlotte players again.
Yeah.
Unless Abada is scoring consistently, I'll consider him. The problem is, just like Rodriguez, there's so many forwards to choose from.
Yeah.
And there's 3 spots.
Yeah.
So it's hard to play Abada. I
finished with 62 points total. I lost my head-to-head at about 87, so honestly those 2 subs weren't going to make a difference in the head-to-head anyway, which that at least made me feel a little better that I didn't lose on that. But going into next week, John, what teams do you like before we get into the lineups?
Before I go into that, you want to talk about our rankings?
Oh, yeah, so I am, let's see, overall 1736, which I am not loving, but let's get to the Charlotte ranking. I am 37th, so we're still on the downslope, but we're still top 50. So
for Charlotte, I was 14th for the week, which brought me back up to 12. I jumped 2 spots to 12. I'd actually dropped 2 spots from 12, so now I'm back where I was 2 weeks ago, 12 out of 448. I'm 9 points now from the top 10. So I expect to be in the top 10 after this week, and then honestly, like I had said, but my aspirations are to keep going. Overall, I was 724 for the week, so I'm 620 overall now, which is an increase of 69 spots from 689. And now we're over 16,000 players, so 16,154 as of this afternoon. So that's not bad. I'd like to get in that top 500 and keep going. It's tough. To crack that top 100 is tough. I mean, it's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, but that's my rankings. So, talking about teams, just like last week, I don't love any defenses.
Yeah, me neither.
Here's who I somewhat like. Houston. Houston's probably the one that people are going to go with. The numbers tell you to. They're allowing a goal per game at home and on the road too. They're pretty consistently defending well. They're playing Austin. They have 0 road goals in 3 games played. But 2 of those 3 games were without Driussi.
Right.
Now, this last week, a lot of people were big on Houston, and I wasn't because I really thought Driussi now in the lineup, and he didn't. But I'm not very confident that's going to happen twice in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm a little weary of them, just like I was with Charlotte last week, which I was right about. But they're the right play.
Yeah.
Montreal, I like their defense. I also like their attack. Orlando is allowing 3 goals per game on the road. That's big for Montreal's attack.
Yeah.
And then last week was Orlando's first road goals of the season.
Yeah.
So you should like Montreal both attacking and defensively. And I really think Martinez.
I always like Montreal attacking, to be honest. Even when they're outgunned in the game, like if I don't think Montreal's going to win, I still think they're going to score.
Well, and now that Yosef is playing, I really think that he's going to start rolling, and they're going to build upon that first home win. Because they've been on the road for so long. I want to like Toronto both ways, playing against New England at home. But with no Insigne on the tack, I'm a little weary. And no Kevin Long on D because of the red card last week against Charlotte.
Yep.
But I like anyone against New England. Like I really do.
Yeah, no.
Especially when New England's on the road. Miami and Atlanta, I definitely like their attack. And for both of them, I might like their D. Miami's averaging 2.5 goals per game at home. On the road, Nashville is averaging 3 goals against per game, and they're only scoring 0.5 goal per game.
Right.
Atlanta is averaging almost 3 goals a game at home. So here's the beauty of Atlanta and Miami potentially being strong defensively this week is that they have attacking defenders.
Yep.
So you take those guys for their attack. They have good matchups attacking-wise. And because of who they're facing, maybe not being so great on the road at scoring, they may get the clean sheet as well, which is a blow-up spot. So I like Lennon this week because of that, and I like Alba or Gressel as well. So, and I'll go into them when I go into players. Galaxy, love their attack this week. One of the most potent attacks in the league, and San Jose is awful. So they're allowing 2.5 goals per game, both home and away. Yeah, they're terrible. I like the Columbus attack. Portland's defense is porous.
Yeah.
And then Crepeau's out because that red card against Belonga.
Yeah.
So who knows with Cucho, what's going on. But you should like the Columbus attack this week. Everybody scores against Portland.
Well, and Cucho scares me because he is back this week, technically, but it's so many games he missed, and then he came back for one, and he
so much going on. I don't
trust their heads to be right.
Yeah, and they're still in CCC. So
yeah,
I like goals in the Kansas City St. Louis game. Kansas City, both teams are scoring 2 goals per game. Kansas City at home, St. Louis on the road, like the matchup is. St. Louis is allowing almost 3 goals per game on the road. Kansas City's allowing over 2 goals per game at home. I like goals in that game, so I like both teams attacking, and I like the over as well when we get to bets later. So that's where I am on my teams. How about your lineups?
Yeah, so as far as keepers go, right now I have Nicholas Hagen in the backup for Columbus as just a, he'll be subbed in for someone. I've got Steve Clark as the guy going in for him right now. I don't know if that's going to stay that way, but to be honest, I don't love any keepers this week. So I'm probably just going to pick someone, and Steve Clark's got a relatively low price tag.
A lot of people are on Steve Clark this week. Like I said, Houston's the one that you should go with by the numbers. And
I also have DeSantos on the back line as well. Then I have Moise Bombito, who I've never even seen that name before, Rapids defender. $5.8 million with an average of a little over 3.5 points a game. Something about Colorado I just like. I don't think Dallas is that good. I really could see a Colorado clean sheet, especially coming off last week.
A lot of people like Bombito, by the way.
Yeah, I think he's a good pick here. He's definitely going to stay. Then I got Gressel as the other defender. He's definitely going to stay as well. I haven't played him in a while, and I think Miami could get that clean sheet against Nashville. I also think Gressel definitely will play, whereas Alba may or may not play.
Right.
So just in the vein of me not having to worry about it, we're going with Gressel. As far as my midfield goes, Bassett is in the lineup officially.
Yeah. Load up on Colorado.
Yeah, we're not messing around with this substitute shit anymore. Bassett's on the team. I've got a Vander as well. Driussi to kind of hedge my bets. If Houston doesn't get the clean sheet, I imagine Driussi will be the one to ruin that, so I'll get the points there anyway. Ricky Puig right now, he's my captain because I really think LA is going to blow out San Jose. He may not stay my captain. It may change to Messi, but I'll decide that as we get a little closer. And then I got Acosta in. Cincinnati did not have a good game last week, and I don't see them going down goalless versus Atlanta. Even if they do lose, I think Atlanta will beat Cincinnati. I think Acosta's going to do something. Well,
it's funny. A few weeks ago, I said Lucho and Cucho were definite starts every week, and I've gotten off that bandwagon so hard.
No, but I'm back on that with Acosta right now. I think he will score.
He's the guy there. Without him, they're terrible. But even with him lately, they're terrible. They can't score goals.
Yeah, Atlanta is such a hard attacking team. People find ways to get in behind at least once, even when they lose 4-1. It doesn't matter for fantasy. Lucho's goal is what matters for fantasy.
Yeah, of course.
So even though I don't think Cincinnati has any shot in that game, I'm happy to risk it on Acosta to do something in it. Then up top, right now I got Arango getting a second chance after last week. They're going to Chicago. I mean, that should be a high-scoring game. Chicago's backline's terrible. And then I've got Messi in right now as well. Honestly, those two are probably going to stay like that unless Messi doesn't play for some reason. But I don't see myself making any changes up top. Really, it's the back line that I'm trying to figure out right now. I'm pretty happy with that midfield 5 and those up 2. What about you? What do you got next week?
So the 3 keepers that I like the most are Sirois from Montreal, Sean Johnson from Toronto, and Steve Clark from Houston, who you have.
Mm-hmm.
Montreal and Toronto play at 7:30, and Houston plays at 8:30. So I can't do a keeper within that group.
Right.
I don't like the 10:30 games or the Sunday games for clean sheets. So my only real option is Zach Steffen at 9:30, which pulls Steve Clark out at 8:30.
Right.
That leaves me with Sirois and Sean Johnson. So right now I have Sirois on my bench and Steffen in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'll pull Steffen if Montreal gets that clean sheet. That's most likely the way I'm going now. Because of price, I trust Montreal a little more than I trust Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I'm going now with my keepers. Defenders, like I said before, I like Lennon and either Alba or Gressel for their attack. Alba's been more consistent, but he came out with a knock last week. So I don't know what his status is going to be. Right now, he is in my lineup. But obviously, if he's not playing, I'll just swap him for Gressel. I feel like with Messi back, Gressel has to do something in the attack.
Yeah.
But he's had one huge week.
Yeah.
And other than that, everything has been a disaster.
An early huge week.
Yeah, it's like week 2, maybe 3. But other than that, it's been 0s to 3s.
Yeah, no, it's been rough lately.
So, I mean, truly a flop. He has been a flop. He has lost millions off his value.
Yeah.
So, Alba's been more consistent, but I just don't know. And Messi didn't play a lot. So, maybe that's why Gressel didn't have. Now he's got Messi. Now he could be getting crosses, assists.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I will say, though, Messi on the attack does hurt Gressel a little.
Because he takes away a lot of those chances.
Well, and Gressel always comes up that wing, and it seems like when Messi's on the field, the goal in transition is just get the ball to Messi.
Yeah, and straight up the middle.
Let him make everything. Like, they don't really go, Messi, you make the run, and Gressel, you take it down the wing.
Yeah.
It's get the ball to Lionel, and he'll decide where everything goes.
Yeah. I like someone from Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
Waterman's supposed to be their guy defensively. He's gotten a passing bonus every game this season, and he's gotten a clearance bonus over half the games.
Big.
But more than him, I like Joaquin Sosa. He's only played in 2 games because he had a leg injury.
Mm-hmm.
But both those games, he's gotten the passing bonus, and then he's got key passes in one and a clearance bonus in the other. So he's getting bonuses. But he's an attacker. He's a center mid, but he goes forward, especially in set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But he took 2 shots against Cincinnati, one of which was on target, and he created a chance as well. So he's a defender that's capable of both goal scoring and assist possibilities.
Right.
So that's someone you really have to like. So he's who I'm looking at. If you like Montreal, but you're looking for a cheaper option, then Ruan could be an option. He's gotten a couple of key pass bonuses, so he's getting more than just the clean sheet if they get it. If you're going clean sheet hunting there, but you can't afford the other guys. I like someone from Houston. It's likely Michael.
Mm-hmm.
He gets passes and clearances bonuses.
Yeah.
So he's the guy there, and he's in your lineup as well, isn't he? Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's staying as well. I also like a Colorado guy like you, but mine's Maxo.
Mm-hmm.
He gets bonuses, and he's cheaper.
Yeah, I went purely on average points for my defensive pick there.
Yeah. So, but I like him. As far as mids, I definitely like Almada, Puig, and Santi. If Lowen's back from his injury, I like him against KC. Like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of goals in that game.
I also like Eric Palmy to the same tune.
And I have him next, actually.
Really? That's
yeah. He had a brace last week, though. I doubt he's going to follow up with another goal.
Probably not.
He only had 1 goal on the whole season before that, and it was like week 1.
Yeah.
He finally scored again, had 2. Is he going to follow that up with another? I don't know. If Johnny Russell's back in the lineup, he's a maybe. I just don't love Kansas City's midfield options. I feel like most of their production this season has come from Polito and Agata.
Yeah.
So, even though they're going to score, it doesn't mean their midfielders will.
Right.
Also looking at Paintsel, Bassett, Bogusz, and Aiden Morris.
Yeah.
Those are guys that I like. I like their matchups. Forwards, Messi's probably the number 1 forward this week.
Yeah, you think.
And maybe every week. Now that they're out of CCC, he's back from injury. He should be starting regularly for them.
Yeah.
And he's starting, I'm starting him. I love Jovovich. I love Jovovich. I'd be surprised if Galaxy doesn't score at least 3 goals.
Yeah, no.
I mean, honestly, at least 3 goals. If they don't have at least 3, I'll be surprised. And I think they could get even more.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like Puig. That's why I like him. That's why I'm debating even Paintsel as well.
Right.
3 goals, there's a lot to go around.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could have 2 or 3 double-digit guys this week from that one team because they're so good and San Jose is so bad. And then third forward I'm likely going with is Martinez from Montreal. I told you before, I think he's going to start rolling.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be on my bench if I go 4-4-2. He's playing the early game, and he's just not messy. I think he's going to start creeping up the Golden Boot rankings.
Yeah.
I really do. Now that they've gotten so many away games out of the way, they're going to have a lot of road. They're clicking. I like him a lot. I'll be sticking with those 3 as long as they're on their team starting lineups. But if you're looking for some other guys, I like Klaus again. And he finally had his first goal, broke the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good matchup for a road team. I normally don't like road teams, but he's a good matchup for a road team. Bernadeschi, so I hate him as a person.
Yep.
I hope he dies. But as long as he's alive, without Insigne, their whole offense goes around him.
Right.
So they're home against New England. It's a team to look for, and he's the guy.
Yeah.
So
I will say, watching Bernadeschi in person, he's so deeply hateable.
Everything about it.
Every corner kick he lines up for, like everything about him, the whole stadium is booing.
Yeah. Suarez, like Messi, is always an option. Agata or Polito against St. Louis.
I thought Polito actually would be a good pick here.
Yeah, there's just so many other forwards that you like. It's hard to fit these guys in.
Well, and I don't think of Polito as a sure thing the same way I'm thinking of Messi or Ronaldo.
Especially Agata gets some of his goals.
Right.
And then last week it was Tommy.
Yeah.
Gigi, I don't know if he's going to be back from injury. But if he is, he's a pretty good option. His replacement has been Daniel Rios, who actually did score, but he's not in the MLS fantasy game yet. So he's not an option for you if Gigi's not playing. Navarro, I'm on the Colorado bandwagon still. Yeah. And a lot of people like Mihailovic, but Navarro scores way more consistently than him. I think if there's goals, it's him or Bassett more. Mihailovic had one great game, and really that was it. So I'm a Navarro guy. And then we talked about Cucho earlier. Yeah. Cucho's definitely an option. I'm scared of him right now. Yeah. He costs so much money. There's so many people to choose from. Why take a chance on him? I don't think you know what you're getting yet with the whole Nancy saga.
Agreed.
And with them still being alive in CCC, there's 4 teams left. You're in the Final Four. Everything is going into that. You want that hardware. So I don't know how much he's going to play. If he does play, what's going to happen? I mean, he's like a head case now. So I don't love him, but he's definitely someone worth talking about, worth thinking about.
For sure. And so now for the betting section. So last week we were back into the positives, which is big after 2 0-5 weeks. But we're back now, and still 3-2 split here. So 5 bets, all $20 each. We had Charlotte; they won. That paid $12.12 was the profit on that for the $20 bet. Then we had the Red Bulls lose. NYCFC won. We made a little over $16 there. Miami won. They were plus 250, so that was a $50 back. That was big. And then Minnesota lost. So I finished the week plus $18.79. Hey, we're back up. That's, we'll take that.
Yeah, up is up.
And then for this week, so I was struggling to find 5 games that I liked, and I try to always do 5 games at $20, but I honestly thought that this was maybe a good lesson, talking point, whatever, for the viewers. Don't bet 5 games if you don't have 5 games to bet. So it's still $100, but I've split that over 3 games now. So I've got 30 on Atlanta. They are plus 120. I really like them this week.
So do I.
Then we got Inter Miami for 40. The reason I made them the $40 game was because they're minus 250. So to get any value out of that, you really got to bet a decent amount, or it's just not worth it. Then I got LA Galaxy. I'm putting 30 on that. They don't have a line out right now at the time of recording, which that may change. It's the Sunday late game, so they're working on it, I imagine. If the Galaxy line never pops up as an option, which I don't understand why the hell that would happen, but
sometimes they don't know if a certain player might play or not, and that'll take the line off.
So now they're waiting. That makes sense.
Yeah, it might never go up because it's right before kickoff you find out. So it's too late to really take bets.
So we'll see. If the Galaxy line never appears, then that $30 will go to the over in the St. Louis Kansas City game. It's over 2.5, which it looks like
I love.
It looks like a lot of other people love it too, because it's minus 165, which is never the line on an over. Usually it's plus 115, minus 115, with slight favorite.
Yeah. But I love that over. I agree. If both teams score and there's a winner, you're over.
Yep. No, for sure. And
I think both teams are going to score. I think that game's going to be 3-1, 3-2.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because a lot of people in soccer don't bet over-unders, even though they are there, because it's always like 1.5 or 2.5. But to me, that's even easier. Like, do I think they're both going to score? Right. Well, that's 2. You can kind of do the math easier than I think in football, where it's like, is it going to be 35-28, or is it going to be 28-21? That's a big discrepancy, when one goal is so hard to come by, and it counts as 1, it's a lot easier to pick an over-under.
Well, and you look at those games that you think there's going to be so much scoring, like this one we're talking about, and sometimes you look at a game and you're like, man, these are 2 great defenses, and they have no goal scorers.
Yeah.
And this game could be 0-0, 1-1 at the most.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, don't get too comfortable with that because there's some, like Red Bulls, Chicago. I mean, by all numbers, that was going to be a 3-goal.
A red card could.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen because teams will change their whole tactic.
Yeah,
after a goal or after a card.
Weather can affect it a lot.
Right. So, things to think about.
Injuries.
But, that's all I got for you guys this week. John, anything else you want to say to the people?
Good luck with your picks this week, and always check your lineups.